This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, third ranked or possibly second ranked necromancers in Europe? This is Stephen, your host with Fantology Podcast. I'm with my lifelong friend Jake here, and we're talking about The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. We just recorded our no spoiler review, which we released back in February. This is full spoilers, and we're dropping it the week of the book. So those of you who just binged the book, check out our thoughts here. A little recap from our non-spoiler. If you haven't listened, I mean, obviously feel free to, but basically we both really liked it. There were a few nitpicks here and there, which we'll get into now. But anything we need to like remind people on any like, did we do any special teases in the non-spoilers, Jake?
No, not really. No.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we really liked it. I think we averaged like a 8.75 out of 10. I think I'm like 8.5 out of 10. You were 9 out of 10. So
Yeah. Yeah. I did 9 out of 10 in my book tube review, which came out back in January. So we got to stick with that because I'm, firmly on
consistent.
record. Yeah, with one of the first booktube reviews that's got like 2,000 views. So, a lot of people have banked that one.
Yes.
I can't switch now. No flipping.
Yeah. We each got kind of different things out of it. I enjoyed it more for its just action, adventure, and characters, and you were able to get a little more deep thought out of it than I was. So
Yeah. Yeah, a little deep thought, which is
yeah,
usually inverse. You're usually the deep thought
usually.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So such a fun book, right, everyone? Because I assume you've read this if you're listening to this review.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone
Man.
playing along like, yeah, it was fun. Say it with us. Anyway, let's talk about let's go through each of our eight main devils, give a little bit of a recap, maybe like rank them in terms of enjoyment, like or in terms of just top character, which characters
Mhm.
were done the best. So who would you say, in your opinion, Jake, who was the best of the devils?
Um,
I guess do we consider Brother Diaz a devil himself?
yes, he is a devil.
Yeah, he is a devil. Okay.
I
Yeah.
was I was a little disappointed at first that he wasn't truly a devil. Like I was hoping they recruited him due to some like
Hmm.
devilish nature. Not
Yeah.
supernatural, but like finding out he has like a more sordid past than
I
he
mean,
actually
he
does.
did have, the
The
what he had
best
some sexual
library.
encounter in his
Oh yeah,
youth, which, you know,
yeah. Yeah, let's include him though. I think, man, this is really hard. I feel like there's some really heavy hitters and some that are like second tier, but between the heavy hitters, it's
mm,
hard for me to rank. Overall character, I'd say Viga as number one.
okay, so like
Number
you
one.
enjoyed her the best. You just thought the development of like the
Yeah.
the the character itself, number one. Okay.
I think, yeah, because I think she had the most like she had top fun moments for sure and funny moments.
Oh, no doubt.
Also
Yeah.
great action scenes, but also like really core emotional scenes as well.
Yeah.
Like she was like I just felt for her a lot. Whereas like Balthazar, amazing, fun, funny and action scenes. I didn't really care for him personally as much, a little bit, but not nearly as much. And then Sunny was kind of the
Mm,
inverse, where like I really cared for Sunny as a character. Like Sunny was written so well that like I was just like, man, Sunny just needs a hug. Like I just wish we could
right.
just give Sunny a hug right
Right.
now, you
Right.
know? But I think Viga kind of
Okay.
took took first place as a total package there for
So when
me.
you like feel so much for her, like maybe at the end after she has, killed Baptiste and there's like
Yeah.
seems that she really wants to kind of be a better person, but she is unable to master the beast within. And it's like, what can she possibly do? Like all of that emotion.
Yeah, that and just like whenever she's like thinking back, like her mind is so like frenetic throughout,
Mm,
and I think it's written really well, and it really helps you like see that like almost farce of positivity that she has over everything. Part of it is
mm,
because she's trying to repress bad memories. Part of it is because she doesn't remember a ton, and so it's just her default like, oh, everyone should be in a good mood, and
yeah.
it was so good to see that blend and like those like sadder emotions bleed out. Yeah. What about you? What would you say is your
My
number one?
yeah, I think my number one is Brother Diaz.
Brother Diaz, really? Yeah.
Mhm.
He's great. I really liked him.
Really like his arc from, where he goes from beginning to end, radically different. At the beginning, he's kind of this opportunistic guy who's seems like he's
Bureaucrat.
got, yeah, mostly a bureaucrat. He's got some like, I think he really does have beliefs in the church at first and
Yeah.
in his religion, but he's very much like, does he feel much for other people? Like, maybe not a ton. And he goes on this journey to kind of be, he's a wimp at first and he kind of finds himself and
Yeah.
becomes a leader, and then he's able to shine helping Alex as then Father Diaz, and helping out in Troy. And then at the end he has this really interesting conversation with her where he talks about religion, and he's like, and Alex basically doesn't believe in God, but he has the other side of the coin in a view of like, well, these things happened, and like, was God really in charge of all this because it worked out? But at the same time, like, who was doing it? Well, the actions were taken by these devilish people, so how could that be God? But at the same time, like, it all worked out for us, which I think is like such a real thing that people struggle with. Like,
Yeah.
no matter where you stand on religion, like, is God real? Is he in our lives? Like, how can that be? It's so hard to see
And how
him. Like,
much and how much is
yeah,
like orchestrated according to a plan versus just
yeah,
like on both sides of that belief, of like even if you do have this strong faith in God, like do you believe everything is therefore part of
hmm,
that plan, or can there still just be random
yeah,
happenstance?
yeah. I
Yeah, he
think
definitely goes from
people fall in like so many ranges of that thing, and
Mhm.
I just think that discussion was so human.
Yeah, and I loved his arc in relationship to the religion, and that in the beginning and end, I think he stays a true believer, but he was utilizing the religion to better himself in the beginning, and
Yeah.
like how can he use this to his advantage despite true belief? And it's his arc is then realizing like due to his own like breaking down his own foils, his own weaknesses, and like some self-loathing, coming to realize like no, I can still, despite like feeling so unworthy in these ways, he can still like leverage this to be a good for other people, and like a good for the world rather than something he can capitalize himself. Which, and again, very human, and I think that's very applicable to today's world as well.
Mhm.
Like, are you using this existing, whether it's religion or any other like structure out there, are you using this as a way to validate yourself and like establish that for like a path for yourself in life, or are you using it to be a good for everyone else? So
Mm. Not to mention his romance with
with
your
Vega,
top
yeah,
character, Vega.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was some of the funniest parts. They're like, okay, when she's trying to like logic him into it, like, so you can't sleep with a woman, but a werewolf, I mean, is it? It's not
Yeah.
written anywhere, so does this count? Probably
I
not,
think that
right?
chapter is called Loopholes or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's a great, and then I love his like power up too, like being able to like he's had this strength the whole time, but finally being able to like utilize his strengths at the end with the
Mhm.
lost scene. Like that was really
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, it's really fun to read about capable characters and characters' journeys to like becoming more capable, like Alex herself, who I think might be coming up next on
Hmm.
your rankings, maybe. Her journey to becoming like a capable empress, or at least like a burgeoning,
Yeah.
her future is bright, maybe. It was also very interesting.
Yeah. Um
Was I right in thinking that's how you would like, was she your number two character or close to?
This is really hard. I really like Jacob of Thorn as well. We don't get
Mm,
as he is just so dead inside emotionally that we don't like, even though we do
hmm
learn more about these like disheartening things that have happened to him and his whole like character and like where he's at emotionally, it doesn't connect the same way as like Alex's does, but I don't know. Yeah, I would do yeah, all the ones I really like, they're really hard to choose between. Um, yeah.
We
Maybe,
can do
yeah.
Tears. Is
I
it
don't
easier
know.
to
For
just do
me,
Tears?
for me, yeah, it's like Viga, Jacob, Alex, and Sunny in one tier, and then Brother Diaz and Balthazar in another tier, and then Reichard and Baptiste in the third.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with Reichert and Baptiste at the bottom. We just don't get nearly as much with them.
We don't,
Baptiste, no point of views at all. Reichert,
and no,
limited. Yeah.
and no like real emotional reasons to connect with them.
Mhm.
And like, not that they were like not written well for that reason, but just like Baptiste was a great character, but she wasn't ever utilized to be an emotional like focal point.
Mhm.
And Count Reichert, he's the one that I was like, I feel like he was, if you were to look at where some uneven character focus was, like I feel like he was sidelined a lot. And I don't know if it was,
Mhm.
he was a really fun character whenever he was on screen. And I really wonder if it was just like he's too powerful to be like in every battle. But there's so many battles where I'm like, where is Reichert? Like, where is he at right now? Like, he could totally turn this tide.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't remember all the, the placements of everyone, but for sure. Yeah, like when he what's the word? What's his magic? Glamours. When he glamours everyone
yeah,
for the first time during the uh
the pilgrimage.
yes, the pilgrimage. Yeah, like that's where he really like okay, this is what this guy is capable of. And what else is he turns into the bats
The
at some
bats.
point.
He goes ham at the end with fighting uh the serving ladies who ended up being disciples of uh
Oh yeah.
what's her face.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he does glamour them, and that's ultimately their end. But he also like I think it was in that fight where he just like rips out people's necks too while he's like feasting on their
Hmm.
blood. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um
maybe he was too powerful. He got a little bit of a backstory, but never as much an emotional connection for the reader as some of the others.
I think just actual like screen time too. He was just not
Mm.
it wasn't around as much. And I was like, what's he always doing off
Yeah.
screen? Drinking more blood, getting young again, I guess. But
Yeah, yeah, he had to do that. That was always the cost.
yeah. But
So you like Jacob.
yeah, I do like Jacob a lot. It's he's another one similar to what you're saying about Brother Diaz. Like you get a lot of similar themes diving into that. Like in his youth, he saw himself as being this like hand of the church of God, and then realizing that they had him do all these evil things, but now
Mm,
you could categorically say he's doing more evil things, like based on like being part of the devils, but he's feels like he's finally doing actual good in the world, and like the juxtaposition of like how he was serving his glory more than anything, and now he's just trying to keep to his oaths. Like I think that was really fascinating.
along with the
And
tragedy of him just like always being in pain and just
yeah,
wishing there was some way it could end.
yeah.
And, like, can I finally die? And he never can.
And I get like the stories have to continue, and part of that grim dark thing is you don't get a happy ending. But I was kind of hoping something killed him at the end, like something happened to bring him like
Mm.
longer peace. But
Yeah, like he could have been, he can die, right? Like if he gets like
I
totally obliterated, he's not
don't
gonna
know.
reform, is he?
I don't know. I mean, he
Because
was
it seems like
cursed by
he's
a
like
witch to never
seems like
die.
he's dying, but his body, maintains the scars and everything. But he's just like his soul is permanently attached there despite all the damage that happens.
Like if he got like obliterated, like you said, he's just bits everywhere. Like would he still just be
Each of the bits has is Jacob.
like if you gathered all the bits together again, maybe it'd heal, but if not,
Yeah.
like is he just like cognizant of being obliterated for
Oh, that's
eternity,
rough.
you know?
Yeah. Dang, maybe he is. Oof.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Although, like when he drowned at the end, he wasn't aware until they brought him back on. Brought him back and
yeah,
resuscitated him,
he was
right?
unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, but when he's been unconscious before and he's kind of like dreaming, reliving memories, so maybe he was doing that
Mm,
during that time.
yeah. Anyway, no, yeah,
Um,
great character. It it felt like he didn't get like a total arc by the end. Like he's kind of in process of going to wherever. So I feel like we'll see him again in the future.
yeah, for sure. Who's your number two?
Probably Alex. I think Brother Diaz and
Alex.
Alex were the top two.
Yeah.
I loved Balthazar and Vega. They were my
Yeah.
probably my three and four, but I didn't feel like either one of them quite had the same like fully formed characters as Alex and Diaz.
I feel like, yeah, obviously I feel like Vigo was
I
fully
mean,
formed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like not that
But
she just that you didn't see quite as much of the arc for her. I don't know. I mean, you got
yeah.
her backstory, but at the same time, I guess Diaz and Alex you see from the beginning to end, like really what the full arc was throughout the course of the book. And Vega, it's more backstories, and she's still like her memories are repressed, and she's interesting for all the reasons you said. But I guess for me, I just really liked like within the book seeing the character go from beginning to end and like the change that takes place there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was satisfied by her like becoming clean, chaining the beast, and then the only times she really became the beast after like what did she not chaining it, what did she say? Like anyway, caging the beast. I don't know what she said. But
Mm,
the only time she became a beast after that was intentionally because they needed her to.
yeah, yeah.
Or she is mind controlled. Um
Hmm.
so I thought that was really cool. And yeah. But Balthasar is so fun. He's
Well,
like
let's stick on Alex
oh
because
and
Alex
Alex, yeah.
was my second ranked character. Yeah, but
Okay.
up for sure Balthazar later. Did you suspect did you suspect the twist with her that she knew the whole
Yeah.
time that she wasn't actually the princess?
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, she's for sure not, but I was like, there's up until that point, I was always thinking there's like 50-50 chance that she's not really a princess. The only thing is I couldn't get like past like how was everyone else fooled about it? Um and not just her uncle, but the or I mean not just the oracles, but the uncle as well. Because like the oracles did just kind of ramble nonsense. So
Yeah. Well, she
um
had the scar and the coin, and I guess that was
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, for a large part of it, I was like her uncle is evil and
And the uncle
he
wasn't
just
even around until,
yeah.
for 75% of the book, Duke Michael.
Yeah, and I was for probably the first third of the book, I was like, Michael is evil, and he probably just picked her to be this patsy somehow.
Mm,
But then I was like, well, how did she have the coin if like to be the patsy, and how did she have the birthmark and all these things? And so I didn't like guess at all that she knew the original one or anything like that. But I was like, her like self-doubt was felt much more than just self-doubt and more like
mm.
I truly don't belong. So I thought it was like 50-50. I wasn't 100% sure on it. What about you?
I didn't pick up on it a whole lot. I thought it totally worked, but I wasn't, yeah, I didn't suspect that as much. The Duke Michael reveal, that was very obvious.
Yeah, and it wasn't even for that for me. I'm never like I'm rarely like, oh, I know for sure this is going to happen for twists like that, but I'm always like adjusting the probability. Like something happened, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, he is evil. Then I'm like, no, I guess he's not. No, he is evil. Maybe he's not.
Mhm.
But
It just seemed to me like the whole time, like clearly, especially as she was getting to Troy and everything
yeah,
was seeming so happy, you're like, no way, like
yeah,
something is
something's
wrong.
bad's
Like,
going to happen.
yeah, like
Yeah.
this has got to be the betrayal. And it was just weird how he was gone the whole time and there was like so much trust placed in him. It,
Yeah.
yeah, that one always seemed like a very high probability to me.
And that's why I wasn't sure. Like, I knew something was off about him, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't like 100% sure he was going to be evil. But like, I was like thinking he set her up as a patsy, as a power play, like knowing she wasn't really,
Mm.
or something like that. Like, I thought there was something shitty going on. The main thing that was holding me back
I
from,
mean, that was kind of what the eventual,
yeah,
the whole plot was.
but he did think she was actually his niece.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but the fact that he like almost died in the first part, um, that kept nagging at me. I'm like, oh, maybe like how,
Mm,
I don't know, but
yeah, like he wouldn't, I guess he wasn't expecting the first
yeah,
cousin to
no one was, yeah,
be so aggressive right off
yeah.
the bat.
But yeah, talking about how like everyone had these flyers already, I was like, all right, it's either him or the church, and it's kind of both. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
The twist that I didn't see coming was the Severa was Eudoxia and
yeah,
like
I
the
didn't see that
Empress
one.
was still alive through, and that I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought it was cool, and it was a great Abercrombie moment of like, here's this really cool character that you're gonna get a like hint at. And just like the interaction with Balthazar at the end where they kind of like respect each other, then it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll see you. And it's like, wait, no, you'd expect that to be like the big like enemy to fight at the end, the antagonist, when really it was like she doesn't care that much. Like this was really Duke Michael is the the real
Mhm.
antagonist here. But yeah, that was really fun. And Balthazar finally getting respect and then just turning that into a classic grimdark of going to go tell Baptiste, and then yeah,
Yeah.
that was really
Yeah.
sad.
I think Balthazar, so when I talked earlier about like the whole thing of good and evil and the commentary
Yeah,
around that, Balthazar was the one that really brought that up for me as he was wrestling with like these are the like I he kind of decides at the end like I want to be a good person, but like can I because I've done all these things, but then you reflect on all these things that the church and like the supposedly good
yeah,
people have done intentionally. And I mean, the conclusion that I ultimately came to is like, the devils are the ones that are trying to change and, to kind of steal parts from the Brandon from Stormlight Archive. Like these are the people who are like actively, trying to be heroic and self-sacrificing and doing the right things and they're considered the devils like that whole like
yeah,
commentary was interesting to me.
yeah. And for me, that was like really on the nose. Like you're gonna call these the devils, but they're being used by.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
like I was just and I feel like that going in that that's going to be some good commentary
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, and I feel like he and Viga both have very classic Abercrombie grimdark arcs. We talked a lot in our non-spoiler review about, is this truly grimdark? Is this grimdark light? But when it comes to like those character arcs, like he has a full arc, has that come to Jesus moment where he summons the demon and the demon can't
Hmm.
do anything about it, and he's like, oh man, this is like
Man,
actually the second
that
coming.
part was so
And
awesome.
I loved it so much. I was like, every time he did something to like had some plan, I went through like all these stages of like, oh my gosh, what an idiot. He thinks he can do this to,
uh
oh, he's gonna do it. Oh, he's really gonna do it to like, and then he fails, and then be like, what an idiot. Why is he still trying? He's so pathetic for still trying. And then at the end, I'm always like, no, good for him. Good for him for still trying. Like that is
yeah, yeah.
like he's enslaved right now. Good for him for doing anything to break the enslavement, like regardless of like what the goals of either organization are. Like, good for him for having that
Mhm.
determination. Um,
Compared to Rickard, who's over
Yeah.
there just like laughing at him the whole time.
Well, Rickard was not enslaved the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, there is
But
that.
yeah,
But
yeah. Um,
yeah, the demon,
yeah.
like I'll give you anything. Oh, I can't
He
do
was like,
that.
"You need anything else? Like, do you need me to
Yeah.
like go cause some plagues? Like, what can I do?" Yeah. But yeah, Balthasar, he has that arc, and then he ends up like he wants to be that good person, and he's, doing all this, but then he ends up right at the same place he was in the beginning, hating where he's at and
hmm
thinking he can break free, having that hubris again.
Yeah.
But
Just yep,
it was
yep.
fun.
Yeah, well said. Kind of seems like he's trapped in this inevitable loop, as several of the characters are. Like, what can they possibly do despite a desire to be good people? Like, circumstances have almost made it impossible.
And like to further that like devil's commentary, like they are devils explicitly because the church says they are devils, and the church keeps them as devils. Like
Mm,
if he were free, he could have that arc on his own and be a better person and do good for the world. Like he could grow. But the fact that they are kept as devils and chained in that way, like
mhm.
like they can't, they're forced into this role where they have to be devils. And part of me thinks that's like intentional from the church too. Like it's not just a side effect of being basically enslaved, but it's also like, no, we need you to be these desperate and like
Right. We need the
people.
chapel of holy expediency to
Yeah.
for the greater good.
Yeah.
But at the
We
same
need you to
time,
be your worst selves.
while they were free, they were being their worst selves. Like that's what ultimately like got them the attention of like
Yeah.
these people have the potential to be these devil characters that we need.
But they were at their best selves when they were disobeying the orders as well.
Yeah.
By going back
But,
to help Alex.
mm,
And I think it's that whole thing, like, yes, they did this one thing and they were like they committed crimes, but the point of their sealing or whatever it's called, the
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 papal binding.
papal binding, is that like, okay, now you're stuck here and you can't grow. Like you have to,
Mm,
you did these things and we want you for, like you said, we want you for that reason. And so we create this environment where that's the only thing you can really do to thrive.
yeah.
He's Balthazar is interesting because he's really the only one of the only ones who like committed a crime that is outside of like his something that was not outside of his own control. Like Vig is a werewolf, not her fault. And like despite they do say like she was like a terrible person before that, but regardless, they want her because she's a werewolf.
Mm,
Sunny's an elf. Baptiste, I'm not sure if she actually had a binding or not. And then Rickard doesn't have the binding, but he is a vampire. Like he can't, it's not up to him if he's a vampire, right? I think that's the lore in this, is that he was
mm,
bit by a vampire as well. Either way, he was
yeah.
he was born or
Sure.
created that way against his will. But Balthazar is the one who committed a crime and like is kind of there of his own free will, or not of his own free will, but due to his own like free will actions. But then they keep like, I don't know, keeping him there. It's just a different ethical dilemma, because the other ones you could arguably say like, oh, this is their nature now, so we have to keep him here, while also saying like,
Mm.
hey, they didn't choose to do this. But he's like his own case there, I'd say.
Do you think his plot in the future is headed towards like this soul swap thing to get out of the binding? Seems like that's what it's hinting at.
That's what it seems like. I feel like it would seem to me like he'd have a long way to go. The epiphany he had at the end of like all elements being like part of like a more basic building block of
Mm.
reality. Basically, I think he like realized atomic theory there.
Yeah.
um and then meeting with Eudexia, is that her name?
Yeah.
Like
Eudoxia, whatever. Yeah.
Eudoxia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I view like his way to escape is. But again, I don't know, like Abercrombie could just never show him on screen again, and it could be they have a different sorcerer the next time around. It's like, oh yeah, this guy actually escaped the binding, but we don't know how. Or maybe it just looked like he died and then didn't actually, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you mentioned this in the non-spoiler from some interviews you've heard with them. It sounds like the future of the series is somewhat up in the air, but it seems like rather than like directly continuing the timeline, there could be more like spiritual successors of, 5 years later, the next group with the devils does this thing, and we see some characters that are, here for cameos. Some are more important. Kind of like how we did a lot of the standalones for First Law.
yeah, and I mean, this is my interpretation of the few words he spoke on it. He mentioned something similar to Indiana Jones, where I mean, the Indiana Jones was, I guess, you're following the same character, but it's a different like quest each time. So
Hmm.
maybe it is that I interpret it to be more like the standalones, where like would have a different quest for the devils, and the devils themselves will probably be changing up. Like I don't imagine right now. I don't really imagine to have another POV through Alex, but
Yeah, I could see that
or
because
Brother
she's
Diaz.
now right. She's now the Empress. She can do that. She can do her Empress stuff, and she can still appear on screen, and that's something we can look forward to in future books. But kind of seems like her arc is complete, or at least it's like complete enough. Like she can now freely go off on her own story.
Yeah, yeah, and same with Brother Diaz, where like he wasn't central to the success of the
Mhm.
Devils, really. He was more there
Right.
for different story reasons, and now like he has like kind of achieved his. I'm going to try to use a big word, and I don't know if it's the right use case, but apotheosis, where he's just like
Ooh,
arrived at his,
okay.
like.
Okay, Mr. Milchick, we see you.
um, and so I don't think we really need another adventure from him, and I don't know what else he could really serve in another adventure,
Yeah. I mean,
But
those were the two characters. Like the mission was to deliver Alex, and Brother Diaz was the charge over
leader.
it. And at the end of the book, we have this new character named Caruso, who is
Yeah,
now being charged with the 13th chapel once again.
yeah,
So kind of seems like a bit of a reset. But I imagine Abercrombie would still like move the larger plot forward of whatever's going on with the elves and the whole
yeah,
Eastern and Western
yeah.
conflict
The
and
world plot's gonna keep
Eudoxia.
going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, we get more missions. Maybe it's a trilogy. I don't know. But as the missions continue, like the larger plot also rolls in more and more, and we get something of a larger arc at the end, or not arc, but just a larger resolution of all these conflicts.
Yeah, yeah. I expect to see Jacob of Thorn a lot, and
Mm.
hopefully Sunny. I loved Alex and Sunny's relationship. I
Yeah.
loved so for all the romances that there's Brother Diaz and Vega, Alex and Sunny, and then Balthazar Baptiste. I think that was more one-sided.
Yeah.
But Vega and Brother Diaz was really fun, and like it was like a funny, entertaining that way. And then it did have some good character moments for Brother Diaz. But Alex
Hmm.
and Sunny just felt so real, and so like
Yeah.
that's like the type of romance that I feel like you like, and I'm maybe projecting, where it just feels so like high school, like in such earnest, great ways. Not none of the dramatic way, but
Sure.
just like
Yeah.
it was almost like a Quoth Denna kind of like
Mm.
romance of just like
They find each other, but
they're like building
you
towards
know,
it, and
there's
then
almost some Romeo and Juliet things with, the elf and the
yeah,
human and right,
yeah.
like these built-in conflicts that how can we overcome this? And like, they can't at the end.
And it's just done so well where like I don't know, getting from each person's POV, and then finally when you realize like, oh no, the other now Sunny does realize Alex does actually like her that way, and it wasn't
Oh
just
yeah,
using her,
yeah,
and
there's
vice
that, yeah.
versa. Like because there's always that self-doubt, in a relationship where you're like, what
Mhm.
does this mean what it's meaning to me for them? And then when they finally reach that moment, and then the rug gets pulled out from under you because she has to get married, but then Sunny has to leave as well. And that was
Mhm.
so sad. Like that was probably that was sadder than Baptiste dying for me. Baptiste dying was sad, but just their romance
Yeah.
not coming to fruition.
I suspected that Baptiste was going to be a traitor because we never got her POV, and it's like there's some reason why she's the only one that doesn't get a POV, and maybe the reason was it was just like too many balls to be juggled.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't ever suspect that. I didn't expect her to die. Although I guess you could have seen it coming so many times. She's always saying, "Don't stick your neck out," and just like thematically in this type of book, that's what's going to happen. She was a really fun character, just a classic like kind of rogue bard. This was my D&D thing. Alex was a rogue, Sunny was a rogue, different rogues,
They're
but
all
they're both
rogues.
rogues.
Okay.
Brother Diaz was the cleric, but really he was just a priest. Like I don't think he was even level one.
Yeah.
Viga was the barbarian. Baptiste was the rogue bard multi-class,
Okay. Sure.
the more is either like a swashbuckling rogue or a more swords bard. Balthazar was the necromancer, and then Jacob was the paladin.
Necromancer's not a class though,
A
is it?
wizard. Wizard is it's a subclass of the wizard,
Oh, it
but
is a
yeah.
subclass? Okay.
Yeah. And then Rykard, I mean, he was a vampire. I don't think I don't know. You could put him
Just an enemy.
maybe, yeah, I don't know.
There
He
are
was
vampires,
great.
but they can't be in the party.
I loved how like the dumpling story was like so dumb and mundane, and like
Yeah.
that's what he used
But
to like
so
glamour
riveting
everybody.
to read through that part.
Yeah. I just thought that was a really fun choice on Abercrombie's part to like, okay, I need him to be speaking and casting this glamour and which people are like enraptured with him, just like
Uh-huh.
can't like stop listening to every word he's saying. And he just decides like, okay, yeah, I'll just write a story about some dumplings they made. And that's gonna be what like
Uh-huh.
seduces everybody. And I'm imagining some like really soggy, like Transylvanian dumplings as opposed to like some
Right,
some
right.
more. I'm a big fan of like the pot sticker type of dumpling, but
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about the humor too much. Probably recounting all the jokes is maybe not the most riveting
yeah,
podcast to listen to. But I mean, I really hope that our listeners enjoyed the humor as much as I do.
yeah. I guess more rapid fire things I enjoyed before we end. The whole magician's house, like that was a perfect sequence. Loved the heads for communicating. That was amazing. And then the conflict of Balthazar trying to escape at the same time as them trying to survive inside. Like it was just done so well. That was another like perfect D&D moment for me. I was like, man, I want to play this dungeon crawl through the magician's house so bad. It'd be so fun.
Yeah. And obviously all the set pieces were fun as well. But yeah, I mean, I give the book a 9 out of 10. Jake, you're like 8.5, 8.5
Yeah,
out of 10.
yeah,
So really looking forward to follow-ups. Abercrombie has said he wants to revisit the first law at some point. He's 50 now, so I think he's trying to plan out like what he does want to write before he gets too old. But yeah, really love this one. And I'm glad that he started a new series because he's got a lot of talents and first law is fun, but at the same time, like it's also fun to do different stuff.
yeah. Same. I like the difference. That's been really fun to dive into a new world from him and get that same but
Yeah.
different perspective. So
All right. If you enjoy what we're doing here, then hop on our Discord. Invites are in the episode description below. And I guess what did we open with? Necromancers. Yeah.
necromancers.
Yeah, good luck leveling up to, I don't know, maybe second, first best even necromancers in Western Europe. See you later.
See ya.